the other, like the big guys have got shows going on, they've always got hats on. It's like that baseball cap thing from yesteryear.
Yeah, but you've got really good hairline, so don't ever cut that with a hat.
Keep the compliments coming. Yeah, do you know what? It's definitely gone a bit grayer. The last few years, I've got an 8-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son, and it's definitely the last 8 years or so. It's but I am 40 as well, so I'm expecting some changes to happen. But yeah, it happens. You're 40 to 44 still, are you?
I am. I was 42 2 weeks ago.
Nice. Happy birthday for them then.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're officially in the same age category now for the Open. Six months.
6 months difference.
Well, to the Open. So I'm counting down the days now. So
it doesn't get any easier. Just the 40-year-olds coming in now just seem to be fitter, faster, stronger. Funny that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? How all of a sudden 40-year-olds have started getting really fit. It's almost as if there's this methodology and this training solution they've got that's making them fitter and stronger.
Crazy. I think one of the biggest thing is with and again, just having had the opportunity to go and watch the Masters. Some of these guys are just freaks, and the ladies as well, right? But the dudes, it's just the sheer size, like just big dudes.
It's one thing that is like abundantly clear to me. Like I started CrossFit after you. By the way, everyone, this is Andy Edwards. I should have introduced you first. Country manager for UK and Ireland, amongst a load of other territories, which I'll come on to in a bit, which I find fascinating, by the way. Like one of them that you've got is just mind blowing. But yeah, Andy is like OG as you get in the UK, affiliate owner, seminar staff, L4, country manager, all the goings. So we'll come on to that in a bit. But yeah, I turned 40 this year, and I thought, as I did when I started CrossFit, I started when I was 25, right? So that, peak young lad getting into CrossFit at that time, thinking he was going to be regionals athlete the year after. Soon learned that I wasn't, and every time I've aged up, like when I turned 35, I was like, here we go, this is it, this is games year. No, 40, not quite. But it's the level of just giants that compete, and you'll probably be able to go into this a lot more than I will, but I think if you look at powerlifting and strongman, specifically for the gents and the women, but specifically for the gents here, we peak a lot later. We're peaking 35 to 45. And I think by then you've got that muscle maturity. Everyone's slowing down a little bit, like in terms of your capacities for, your quick reps, your gymnastic volume. But at that point, you've got so much muscle maturation. You've settled down a bit up here. Your training gets a little bit more quality rather than quantity. And I think that's why we're seeing these giant men that are just built like shit houses, that just lift insanely amounts of weight, sit somewhere between 90 and 95 kilo body weight, and just like animals. And again, it's something to do with what they're doing. It's methodology.
Well, I mean, it's the methodology. I mean, like, I think some of them might be coming in a little bit later, and so therefore aren't necessarily beat up as much as someone who's been trying to push the needle with competing within CrossFit. And again, it depends on the background and the sport as well. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily compare the strongman and powerlifting, because one, they are massive individuals and they love a little bit of PEDs. Do you know what I mean? So again, that keeps them young. Whereas, I'm not going to deny that there might not be happening in the competitive element, within CrossFit. But again, these guys just look like fit genetic freaks, and that might be something where we talk about in terms of like the competitive side of CrossFit, is that it's people who have time and they got the genetics and they have the want. You need those three ingredients, and it's something which I've learned through working with those types of individuals over the years. It's not something that I've been able to experience myself, but working with people who have gone to the highest accolades of our sport, it's like they have those 3 ingredients.
Yeah. And, you know, you get it in every sport. And we're such a young sport still. It's 20 years. Like, it's not an old sport, but, you know, you compare it to rugby and football, like soccer for the Americans, like that's 150 years plus. Like, we're looking at 20 years and we're still figuring it out. And the nature of constantly varied means each year, it's not going to be the same, is it?
No.
So we're going to have to completely move the needle to some extent each year. But it's funny, you'll be aware of Tribal Clash down on the South Coast.
Yeah.
So I did that from 2013 through to 2019. Every year, did a couple of Portugals. And the first year I did that in 2013, there was a couple of lads from, I think it was CM2, the gym at the time. I don't know if it's still called CM2.
It's just changed its name, actually. I can't remember.
Was it?
What, though. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And there was these 2 gents, and at the time, then that was 2013. They would have been probably 40. I think the guy's name was Steve. I think one of the guys. Anyway, he reminded me of. Do you know the film 300?
Yeah.
You know that big thing on the chain that gets unleashed and starts killing people? He looked a spitting image of that, and we were in the lane next to him, and I was like, am I supposed to be competing with this guy? Like, he was a monster, and the fitness levels at the time. I'd never got his background, but I'd have loved to have spoken to him about like what he was.
There's something on Instagram doing the rounds at the this Finnish cross country skier. Have you seen it? He's like 6'5.5", like back in the 80s, and like was like back squatting 200 kilos for reps, and he's just an absolute freak of nature. Like I think his VO2 max or his blood oxygen levels were even better than like Lance Armstrong at his prime. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, and yeah, like. You know, we've seen it in CrossFit already with the likes of, you know, Rich Froning, Matt Fraser, you know, and specific, you know, like Tia Claire, right? You know, the you know, next level and above. And it's, yeah, time and training, genetics to basically expose it, and then the want. And I think that's or the want, or the, I guess, the mental fortitude, because CrossFit's hard, right? And you know, it's not, it might look easy for them out there in terms of being dominance, but probably it still feels as challenging as us trying to, you know, clean and jerk 60 kilos for 30 reps.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You know, they just have that, you know, next level in terms of all 3 of those levels, really.
Yeah. I married an athlete, and my wife competed in synchronized swimming at London 2012, so the Olympics, and she coached in Rio. There's a lot of misunderstanding about the sport of synchronized swimming. When I first met her, I thought it was dicking about in a pool, splashing around with frilly hats on.
It's holding your breath and moving, isn't it?
Oh man, I soon learned the hard way. Like, their routines are 4 minutes, and they come up out of the water with their air to take in air with their heads for all of about 35 seconds of the 4 minutes. So they're holding their breath for 3.5 minutes, performing high-level gymnastics, perfectly synchronized. They can't touch the floor. If they touch the floor, they get DQ'd. So they're not pushing off. All of that explosive power and drive and stamina is coming from treading water under. It's just this sport that just gets completely overlooked. Anyway, the amount of conditioning and fortitude that the athletes have to put in any sport, at any level, at the top level in any sport, it requires a certain mindset. It requires a certain amount of discipline that normal people like me just cannot quantify. It's like when you hear a physicist, nuclear physicist, talking about maths and numbers. I'm like, I can't even begin to think on those lines. The thing is with CrossFit is we get a glimpse of that at the smallest degree every day when we go in. And that's the beautiful thing that we get. We get to experience it on a really small level, but we feel appropriately the same. So like we feel how they feel to a degree. Well, we think we do, but it's documentaries and it's insight and it's media and it's people where they can interview the athletes, and the athletes get to talk and explain about how exactly they felt. It's only then do we realize, okay, they're willing to put their bodies through things that we've just got this cap. Like they're breaking through that.
Yeah, well, it makes it relative, right? And just as CrossFit and the channel of the sport of fitness, right? You know, it originally got put together to bring the community together, right? The first one's in 2007.
Mm,
In 2007, I think there's like a total of 13 affiliates global. But there's, you know, people within those affiliates, and within that the forum boards, etc. And so they just brought it together, and it was a, you know, good little showdown. The year after, they doubled the size of it, but it was still the same thing. It's like, hey, pay to play, you know, turn up, and all this kind of stuff. And I think, you know, from its birth, it's always been about the community. And, you
mm,
know, if you look at all sports, and you know, whether it be football, whether it be rugby, right, people have an inherent relationship with that. I think with CrossFit, it's that when, you know, specifically this year's games as well, it's relative. All right. So
mm,
it's like the workouts that they're doing this year's CrossFit Games, you could in some variation do them at the affiliate level. And so we
mm,
get to experience it, but you know, it's not going to be you know, a heavy deadlift and handstand walk. It's going to be a lighter deadlift with the same volume, and maybe a wall walk. Do you know what I mean? So again, is
mm,
that have that element of relativity? It's like weightlifting, right?
mm,
I appreciate weightlifting as a sport, powerlifting, strongman, because I lift weights. Because I'm like, how on earth does someone lift that? And that's the big thing with our sport.
mm,
It's a sport in which you can do and be relative with. Um, but I think, you know, specifically now, it's like, you know, obviously the focus is always going to be on the elite athletes. Um, but it's everything around there. The elite athletes come to, you know, show who is the fittest around. But what happens is the rest of the community comes round to appreciate that. And then you start meeting people who are like, hey, you're a CrossFitter. How long have you been doing it for? Oh my God, yeah, cool. We've got so much in common. You know, and that's organic. The way it's grown has been very organic, you know, since then, you know, and fundamentally that's how I know most people within CrossFit, is because I've seen them at a competition, or, you know, had maybe shared the workout floor with them years ago, when, you know, I kind of used to go to those things.
and also obviously being seminar staff for quite some time now, you've I'd imagine you've seen most of the people in the last, say, I don't know, decade that have gone through the L1s and the Ls2 in the UK. You probably met half of them, I would have thought.
Yeah, in some guys, in terms of either on a level one or a level two. I mean, I've been, as
Mm,
you said, I've been on just over 12, yeah, just under 12 years. So like I got on
mm,
at the end of 2013. I think my first seminar was like, oh, must have been the beginning of 2014. It was when the movie Lone Survivor came out. And so there was a seminar that we did up in Manchester,
yeah,
and on the Friday before the actual seminar, Lone Survivor came out. So I think
right,
we either did Murph and then went to watch the movie, or we watched the
amazing.
movie and then went and did Murph. So yeah, but that's what I
So one of
remember
my
being my first one.
reason I laugh was, one of my questions was, do you remember the first time you put that red shirt on? And you've got a very strong memory between for that weekend, I guess. How did it feel? Like, what's the pro? I know this has been talked about quite a few times in the past, but the first time you got given that red shirt and you put it on, and the hoodie or the sweater, and did you feel instantly part of the team when you put it on, or did it take time to build that?
Certainly, in order to feel not like an imposter, it took some time to kind of get
Mm,
there. I think, just to sort of give a little bit of background, you know, the reason why I think most people want to become a red shirt, you know, is the similar reason. Like, I got absolutely blown away by those who delivered mine back in April 2010. So I did my level one in Auckland, New Zealand, first one in New Zealand, and I was just completely taken aback by the level of professionalism, the delivery, and just how cool they were. you know, the seminar stuff. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but it had Lisa Ray in there, a guy who was called Matt Swift, who's no longer on staff, another guy called Commando Steve, who was actually finished fourth in 2009, and then he worked on The Biggest Loser. And yeah, it was, having come from such a strong gym strength and conditioning background, it just made that what came out in terms of the theory and the way in which they delivered it just made like perfect sense. Like, why have I been doing bodybuilding for so, like, I'm like, this just but this makes sense. This just makes you better at like life, you know? So then the journey that I had towards that, I think it's like anything. You make a decision. You know, that was 2010. I didn't get on until 2013, and in that time, I basically set up the affiliate, Dragon in Cardiff, and then gone down, you know, all various routes of, you know, learning from Coach Bergner, doing the SMEs, etc. And I think it was after the coach's prep course, as it was then, that I thought I'd love to be able to, because that was the training of the trainers bit. And I think that's the big motivation for me, is like, I want to be able to, and again, this is just from everything. CrossFit fundamentally changed my life. You know, from the very first time it was introduced to me in 2018, it had such a massive positive impact on me personally, even to where it still does now and to where I am, that I saw it as an opportunity for me to give that to people through fitness and through CrossFit. And so initially getting onto staff first and foremost was like, one, I guess, some people thought that I could deliver that message. And then it was a question of like, I need to, you know, prove my worth. And I think that is the big thing, is that you haven't made it when you're a red shirt. You have just started the journey on actually trying to improve your craft and get better every seminar that you deliver. And you know, I think, is it James? Oh no, that's not. I'll get confused. But the legacy book from the All Blacks, you know, it says, you know, leave it in a better place than what you got it. And I think that's the important bit, really. It's like, it took a while, but it took a while to sort of grow into that position, and, you know, and feel comfortable and confident, you know, that I am representing the shirt well. But the only reason is because we're always trying to improve on our last performance.
Yeah. One word you said there a minute ago was assertive. And it's one thing that I'm very thankful for CrossFit for, but also I wish I'd found it earlier. It's that sense of assertiveness. You want something done, you do it. You know, don't hang about, make a plan, get a brief together and go after it. And slowly drip fed that from my first WOD in late 2011, the first time I did a workout, and I was fucked. And since then, every damn day I've trained, every class that I've coached, every seminar I've been to, every lecture that I've listened to online, every bit of media, it's drip feeding this level of just, do you know what? And I think culturally, maybe it might be in the UK, we've got this reserved nature of, oh, do you know what? Never mind. I'll hold a door open for you, that kind of thing, politeness and that kind of shit.
Mediocrity.
Yeah, exactly. We're obsessed with mediocrity. And that's one of the beautiful things about being surrounded by Americans now in this field, is that they don't get it. They don't get it when you say, oh, do you know what? I think I'll just, why? Like, go after it. And it's like, all right, okay, I will. And you're trying to catch up after years and generations of this, like, you know, being held back by this idea of being okay with being mediocre at something. And
well, it's more fear failure, I reckon, and that's the big thing which, you know, CrossFit really highlights, right? Is that you know, setting goals and going after something is hard work, and you know, if we talk about the grey matter between the head, which, you know, doing a daily WOD has a massive, significant impact in. It grows your confidence. You do something that you believe that you believe you couldn't do. So we see this on a daily basis in an affiliate. It could be something as simple as like someone squatting full range of motion. Yeah, they might not be. They're like, oh, my knees hurt, but this my back hurts, all that kind of stuff. And slowly but surely, you start to see the penny drop. That the fact that the work in which they're doing is making them physically better. They believe they couldn't do it, and that's what makes them mentally tougher and stronger. And so, I guess that's the kind of like. It's a belief, right? Because we can't actually prove it. It's not a fact. It's a belief and part of what CrossFit can do in regards to that. But yeah, I think it's very much like getting after something is going to be hard and just relishing the challenge then, right? And I think that's where it comes down to. And the mediocrity bit, it's like, oh, it's too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And settling for enough. I think that might be a class thing as well. Like the lower classes, if you're struggling to make ends meet, you get a job and you're there for life, and that's your lot. You stick with it and you just do your job. The American dream and the whole Americana side of it. And do you know what? I've changed my tune on this the last few years, right? And this is one of the things I was going to ask you about. And I'm sort of ashamed of this, right? Is that the first half of my sort of experience with CrossFit, like probably 2014, after I'd done the L1s and the coaching and got my, worked at the affiliates and all that, I started to grow this resentment that CrossFit was so entrenched in Americana. Why can't they see it from our perspective? Why don't we have more representation globally? Why can't the games be abroad? Why can't blah 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 blah, right? But the last few years I've really changed my tune on this, and I think I've obviously got a bit older and a bit wiser, but I've really seen the value of that, of having that centralized hub in the US, of that Americana, of that free spirit, of that you earn your right, of that whatever it is, the red, white, and blue stripes, the jets going over, the bald eagle, whatever it is, there's something about that we had in other sport in the 90s. Like Michael Jordan, the only reason I know about the NBA is Michael Jordan and Space Jam and the Chicago Bulls. That's the only reason I know that.
You didn't used to watch it on Channel 4 on a Sunday?
No, I didn't. I used to watch Transworld Sport on a Sunday, and it was all the weird stuff. But like it was WWF for me. Again, I know it's technically not sport, but you had all the WWF wrestlers. Hulk Hogan, you think of what he represented, America. Michael Jordan, America. All these sports athletes and world-known characters, they were all American. And then Hollywood, the films, Rocky, Arnie, like the American dream, it was all there in the 90s. And then it fizzled out. And I think with CrossFit, I've realized, and this might be a nostalgic thing, maybe, I don't know, but I really want it. I really love the idea of that American thing that I'm part of, that I can do and be part of, and that brand.
It's the hard work bit, right? Because all those people that you've mentioned, they don't get there by chance. It's the same thing, in terms of his hard work, his grit. I mean, if you believe the stories in terms of like Sylvester Stallone selling his dog, and because he wanted to be the star in the Rocky show, which propelled him, that takes risk and belief and a bit of confidence and just hard work, because he had no money. Similar sort of thing with rest in peace, Terry Booler. That's what Hulk Hogan's name is. Again, worked around, was a guitarist, and sort of found his natural element, but then worked hard, right? And that kind of work ethic. And yes, getting little drip feeds of that within the UK, and this maybe just for our, the American people like listening in. It does go slightly differently, and the reason being is I put it this: our national sport over here is football, and there's two footballers who are very similar in age, and I think I believe they play. I don't know. I don't follow football, right?
You're
The two
rugby, yeah.
rugby guy. So the two individuals I'm thinking about are Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo. I think they're similar in age. Am
Yeah.
I not
There's a
right?
month between them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm led to believe that Wayne Rooney doesn't really, I'm not saying work ethic, but just didn't work hard enough. Whereas you cannot deny Cristiano Ronaldo does everything that you expect of a professional athlete, and the guy is still playing. You
Mm.
know, and I just think those are two like case examples of, you know, like people were really good at football, Gaza as a point, right? Gifted football players, but what could they have been if they had the graft as well?
Yep.
And that's the thing. It's like when you talk about meritocracy, they were happy to be the best player in the UK, but they lacked the discipline and maybe the work ethic to be the best
Mm.
players in the world, which
Yeah.
they, you know, you could argue which they could have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so
Oh, Maradona.
yeah,
Maradona's another one.
yeah,
Gaza, like that period. You know, George Best.
yeah,
It's throughout. You've got these just insanely talented people that just don't quite have. They've earned their right to be there by talent and work and a bit of work ethic. But those people that have it all lined up and they're willing to put in that, they're the Messis and the Ronaldos of the world. They're the, you know, they're the top boys.
it's a bit of a random conversation we're going down.
Yeah, I know. Here's a question then. For the average affiliate member,
Mhm.
what's the best lesson they can learn by watching the sport at the top level?
What's achievable? I mean, not necessarily in regards to, you know, them taking part, but what the methodology allows people to do. Um, the see that I guess the biggest thing is to see where these people started and where they ended up. You know, I mean, there's
Mm,
the video of Tia Claire doing like 40-kilo cleans or something like that, and you're like, you started there.
mm,
um, you know, and that's as you said, it's the insight, it's the stories,
mm.
the everything that surrounds that rather than just the performance.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because the earliest media that I was watching was the behind the scenes that Savon did and the team, obviously. And the attraction of the behind the scenes was just that. It was behind the scenes. It wasn't the platform. It wasn't showing the sport happening. It was them after and before. And when you ask a lot of people what got them into it and what got them to CrossFit, they'll say, "Oh, I watched behind the scenes." And it's like, okay, so you learned about the personalities of the guys doing it rather than the actual performance itself. So there is that kind of documentary feeling behind what draws people to it. So on the flip side of that, what do you think the biggest mistake of an affiliate member would be when watching the sport? What's the biggest mistake they could make by watching it?
Oh, imagining that they could be there.
Yeah.
But no, I just be realistic. I don't think there is
Okay.
a negative connotation. You know, like if someone is already within an affiliate, um, at least it allows them to. I always talk about CrossFit being identity to someone.
Mhm.
And specifically, you know, some of the conversations I have with affiliate owners and, you know, maybe long-term members, you know, and let's say, you know, if I be candid, you know, talking to affiliates that might be looking to de-affiliate,
Mhm.
I mean, what do their members call themselves? You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
identify as a CrossFitter, all right, you
Yeah.
know, but like, you know, a CrossFit athlete, you know,
Mm.
and that athlete bit, you know, that we have to do it from the technical perspective, but like I do CrossFit, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, that comes with the idea that I appreciate hard work, and you know,
Mm.
vast majority of like you can ask anyone or any affiliate owner, you know, those who really relish and are in the gym for a long time, they appreciate hard work. And you know, from watching the sport, you can see how hard someone's got there. You know, that is not, it's not just the genetics. It's not just the fact that they've got time and hours to train. It's the fact that they've got the discipline and they're happy to put the work in to get themselves there. Yeah, I hope that kind of answers that one.
Yeah. No, for sure it does. We've seen, bit of a tangent, we've seen some really positive media coming out of HQ and Jen Hocker and the team and the marketing assets that come out. It's, you've probably known about it months ahead of us, right? So from a public perspective, we've seen it come out, and I absolutely adore the messaging and the focus, the refocus. We've, you know, and the assets we've got leading up for the next 6 months now. There's a proper plan in place. It looks like a proper actual marketing plan from a global company, which is amazing. There's a couple of things that I want to ask you. What would you define the standard as? So there's the standard. For you, what does that mean?
So you've kind of boxed me in there. Like, you know, holding the standard just means being true to who we are personally. Okay. That's, you know, if we look at CrossFit, we're in that charter. It's the mechanics, this consistency, and this intensity in that order. And we don't necessarily flinch from there. All right. So, you know, we are forging elite fitness. We want to be the leaders. You know, we are the original fitness. Okay. I love that slogan. When it comes to the standard, I think it's going to just slightly change from person to person, right? Because like someone might be, well, we're going to hold people to going below parallel, you know, on a squat. Okay. Which doesn't happen in high rocks. Yeah, and it certainly happens, you know, within the CrossFit environment. But it's just getting clarity on that one, because there's someone will start in your gym and they cannot squat below parallel, but it's the journey in order to hold them to that. And the reason why we do that is because it's going to be more beneficial in the long run. If just on training alone, you're going to be able to increase more power, right? You can have better joints if you go below there. But it's also, look, the reason why we want to do it is because this is the best course of action. And I think that's the whole thing in terms of holding the standard, is that, you know, we're not going to cheapen it and we're not going to change on it, because this is what has got us to the place and where we're at, and more specifically where we're going to go to. You know, and that's where I kind of see the standard. It might not necessarily, you know, it's whether it's from a coaching perspective, we have to set those standards. And I still think that's a work in progress based on, you know, location, you know, demographic, that kind of stuff. You know, there's, just to go off on a tangent here, there was conversation around about 20 people, you know, being, you know, too big of a class, or you know, maybe, and I'm like, some of the leading gyms in our region, that's the small class. And I know that's unfair. That's unfair. That's an average class size. There we are. Yeah. 20 is an average class size. So that's where it all comes from conversation, right? And then the kind of way it's kind of like deviates ever so slightly depending, you know, on the circumstances. And that's the beauty of CrossFit has always been, is that we always want to find what works best. And what we do find what works best is, you know, taking joints through a full range of motion, making sure that they're safe, effective, and have efficacy. And that's the thing, right? Is that this? I guess the standard in which we're setting from CrossFit is the kernel, right? It's the level one. You know, it's what Greg's put down, and just holding ourselves to that as best as we can.
Yeah, for me, like, and that's there we go. That's true north, right? So that's a straight line to where you want to go.
Yeah, I call it the theory.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Right. So if you want to deviate away from that, for whatever reason, if you can't reach full range of movement, that's that's acceptable. You know, if you're injured or you're new or whatever. Nutrition, you know, if you have a pizza on a Saturday night, probably not going to be the end of the world. If you have a C4, because this is my champagne, by the way. I crack one of these out every time I have a really big guest on. So,
Oh, I feel should have said I would have brought mine.
As long as we know how far we're deviating away from that true north and what that standard is, as long as we're acknowledging that and we know where that line is and we try and gravitate back towards it as much as we can, for me, that's the standard. The standard is unwavering. It's objective, you know, and that's the beauty of CrossFit. And I think that's why we get a lot of the analysts, like especially in my gyms, the people that really have loved CrossFit the most, and by loved I mean have really thrown themselves into the best results they can and keeping with it, are they're the accountants, the engineers. I had a neuroscientist as my old training partner in my old gym. They're these people that they're very binary and it's A to B. And if I do this, this is what I get. And on the flip side of it, they get the most frustrated when it doesn't happen exactly according to plan, because they're, well, why is it? Why is that? There's a scientific method. Why isn't it happening? But again, they understand that keep bearing towards that standard and you're only going to go in a good direction. And that's for me what the standard is with CrossFit. We've outlined, it's been the same for nearly 25 years, you know. And we've got that, and it won't change really. There's the odd word that changes, like happiness has been added into the L1 since I did it in 2012 quite a few times. I noticed that, I've highlighted it. But yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. And the other one was culture. There's this shift away from like community towards culture. And again, I really like that. I love that kind of belonging, and that it sounds a lot more
identity. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, look, this will give you a little bit of a, I guess, a look under the bonnet, right? You know, there's a lot of similarities in terms of CrossFit training and, let's say, religion, you know, in regards to how the message got out, in terms of people who are delivering it, in regards to, hey, look, this stuff works. You just got to try it and work a little bit hard, right? And, you know, it is backed in science. That was the big thing, that we go back to the level one, right? Is that, look, you know, it's work capacity across broad time and modal domains. It's measurable. Okay. You can observe and you can repeat it. It's that, you know, and then there's like, it's just a little standard deviation in a way around there, right? It's theory. And this is the important part, right? Where you've got the methodology. The methodology is the theory. All right. You have the affiliates. All right. The affiliates is the movement. All right. That's the movement globally of, you know, getting CrossFit out there. People have got to try and experience it and see the results for themselves. That is where it's the application. So it's the application of CrossFit. And that's where the slight deviations will start to occur. And I think it's important for people within those different areas and regions and demographics, all that kind of stuff, is that's where we start to have conversations in regards to, you know, where they can slightly deviate, but how it you know, how it still aligns with, you know, the true north, you know, and the start. You know, sort of case in point would be like, I use an analogy of a Bulgarian weightlifter, and I think this was taught to me by a weightlifting coach, and someone in the audience, the guy's just won a gold, and he goes, "Oh, how heavy do you think he could lift with good technique?" And the guy goes, "I guess he's the world champion." You know, and that's what I'm saying. It's like little things like, well, maybe that's a new technique. You know, the Fosbury flop versus you know, the hitch kick over the high jump. You know, and that's where I think application of the theory, you know, can be like sort of kind of beneficial. We have this true north, you know, in terms of constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity, right? That is the description of CrossFit, right? Definitive description of CrossFit. And I sometimes have this conversation with owners, because they're like, let's say, oh, well, people are scared around about, you know, doing toes to bar and doing snatches and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. I kind of get it. But I'm like, where does it say that they're in the definition? I said they are facets within the definition, and we can have a conversation around that. In fact, the whole conversation was about trying to slightly increase class size, and we used Fran as an example. And he's like, well, I can only have certain number of people doing Fran RX. I was like, okay, cool. And from a commercial standpoint, possibly, having, trying to just grow by 4 more, right? There may be reasons why you can't do that, but let's say we save some equipment and a safety perspective. And so I went, have you ever done Fran with dumbbells? And it was like, yeah, but it's not Fran. I'm like, well, I mean, it's constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity. It's not perfectly Fran. However, people are going to get a dose response similar to that. So it does fit that constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity. And that's what I mean in terms of like application and conversation. We can see where the true north is. We can have a conversation about it. And then it's just opening the mind in regards to, variations. But as you said, and you quite alluded to it, is being aware of that at the same time.
Yeah. But a good coach will know in that room, whether it's 2 people or 20 people, how to get the best measurement of the day and how the best application they can in that hour, which is where systems come into it. And we've got all this to our advantage now. We've got so many systems in place where how many people are going to walk through that door if you've got a good booking system. That you're aware of who those people are. Their injuries coming in because you've got a system that can monitor that. When they walk in, 5-minute quick brief, get injuries, up here. Use that time to, as long as the programming isn't 6.5 minute alternating EMOM of snatch at the hang position, then 5x5 back squats, and then a 20-minute AMRAP, and then a cool down, and then a bit like fucking keep it simple. If you've got 20 people in the class, for me personally, it's easier or more simple to coach 20 people in the class if I know I've got 20 than there is PT one-on-one. Because 20 people, you are not going to be going high technical, high skill based EMOMs, all that kind of way. You adapt to suit, and it becomes a lot more simple as a coach. So that, again, obviously there's variables like the space, the kit, and that kind of thing. But you make do. If, like you've just said, rather than doing barbell Fran, you grab some dumbbells. Guess what? Push comes to shove, you do wall balls. You're getting that sort of thruster positioning and everything's going on. And time domain, you can double the reps. There's so much to scale and to adjust to get a response the similar of it. People would love, and they were talking about this on Pedro's show last night, actually. Hobart was on. And he was saying, people go there for the best hour of their day. And we want to give them that fun in that group environment. It's awesome when you have 20 people in a class, everyone's moving, everyone's sweating, everyone's getting stronger, coach is there, music's blaring, final whistle goes, and everyone's chuffed that they've been there, and then they go home. What more do you want from that? Obviously, it's not going to happen every day, but you're hitting the nail on the head with that. That's what we do. That's CrossFit.
Exactly, right. And I think program is a big component of that. It's not discussed enough. And it's because people keep their cards close to their chest. I mean, maybe programming is not discussed enough because of the competitive element and everyone looking towards the competitive programs and what's the secret sauce in there and all that kind of stuff. But that is not GPP. It's sport specific, even though, you want a fitness which is broad, general and inclusive. Like, you've got people who've got a lot of time and they're working their weaknesses specifically. And I guess it's an understanding, right? So Johnny, I speak a lot with Johnny Davis at 179, only because he's 40 minutes down the road, right? But we kind of like see it slightly, right? You've got 3 different channels, right? And again, coming back down to like CrossFit.com, the training on there is the theory. Right, this is what we're trying to do, but it doesn't necessarily come with a warm-up. It doesn't necessarily come with training notes. So you have to learn and develop. It's a constant learning. So looking at that and going, well, how can I adjust that for myself? Right. So again, maybe geared towards more of those who've got a little bit more want to find out a bit more about CrossFit. Then you've got like affiliate programming. Well, affiliate programming is like, it's based on the theory, but as you said, I've got to make adjustments dependent on the people that I've got in front of me. And then you've got this other whole subsection, which is sport. Yeah. And that is geared towards doing better in the sport of fitness. And the little thing would be like, look, you know, if you wanted to compete now at, say, regionals level as a male athlete, then, well, you need to be like snatching 120 kilos. Like,
Yeah.
someone's going to go do that with a coal bar now, and you've got to go and do it, right? However, you know, let's say it was me and you know, back when we were both 25. Well, I think you know, for me, in order to try and snatch 120, you know, would take me basically means I have to stop doing CrossFit, and I have to exclusively look at weightlifting and hope that when I go back to do CrossFit, I can keep that strength, right? And that's the thing, right? It's that I think people lose sight of that one, is that the core message in what we had in the level one on what is fitness, right? And we say it in the Hopper model: he or she is fittest who performs statistically best across a number of given events. We say he or she is better spent going headlong into eradicating weak points than focusing on their strengths. And now that's the big thing that, you know, you can kind of try and do in an affiliate, but if you do want to get fitter, you have to focus on that weak point area. And that's where, that being in a competitive program, you have more time to do it. So you can see it varies by degree, not kind, you know. And you know, CrossFit.com might highlight a weakness, but CrossFit.com is not going to provide you the opportunity to go and eradicate that weakness.
No.
You know, so different channels for programming.
Yeah.
And we will all do better at understanding programming by talking about it more, being a little bit more vulnerable. I think people are quite closed off and guarded, you know, in terms of, like, that's the secret sauce. And kind of looping this back into the behind the scenes. Me personally, when I started looking at the behind the scenes, I just love to see what training they're doing. I want to see if there's something here, you know, quite on the Miko Salo one, you know.
Yeah. Oh, but C2. Yeah.
Yeah. Get in that dark cupboard, get on a C2, build your aerobic base, right? Bang. What did we take from some stuff with Rich Froning? I mean, like, Rich Froning changed the game. I always look at Rich Froning in terms of, was it 100 kilo Grace?
Yeah.
Changed the name of sport. Then 100 kilo Isabel. And then from that 100 kilo Isabel, there was this other guy called Matt Frazier who decided to do that as well. And then all of a sudden, it just certain things changed the direction, or I would say, of the competitiveness, you know, of what is possible. All right. And those are like key points before Tia came in and just started doing everything, you know.
Dominated. Well, it's Roger Bannister, isn't it? The 4 minute mile. Like, within a year of him doing the 4 minute mile, 12 other people had done it.
Yeah.
You know, and in Arnie's, I used to be obsessed with bodybuilding. Arnie's autobiography, he talks about this German weightlifter that deadlifted a certain amount, and within a year of him deadlifting it, like 20 other blokes had done it in Germany alone. It's and Hafthor Bjornsson, like, deadlifting 510 the other week, 510 kilo deadlift is unfathomable.
Yeah.
But almost guaranteed, the reason he knows he can do that is because Eddie Hall did the 500. Like, these numbers don't get plucked out of anywhere. Like, they are built upon, and that freeing of that mind is, you know, is a big thing. And having the people at the forefront and at the sport level, they drive that. They're almost like a tugboat pulling along the affiliates, and this is the direction we're going in. Come along for the ride. This is the expanse that we're breaking through into. Come with us. And the average Fran time at a gym has gone probably 2 minutes quicker since 2014, because we know what they're capable of doing. So we're trying to constantly chase that. Not that we ever get there, but I think
but it also shows how important it is how important a role the CrossFit Games or the sport of fitness does have on both, you know, the affiliates and on, you know, CrossFit.com. It's like we'd be remiss if we didn't think that there was an element of chasing more weight over capacity. You know, from a period of maybe 2014 and to 2018 possibly,
Mhm.
right? And therefore we did get the strongest and the fittest athletes, whereas like now we can kind of see it does tend, like running, right? I saw on some post earlier, oh, everyone knows how much CrossFitters love running. I'm like, running is like probably the most functional thing that you need to do when it comes to capacity, right?
Yeah.
And being able to run and lift heavy is two of the the key components. And
Mm.
I think Ricky Garrard just did like close to a 16-minute 5K at 93 kilos and then snatched 136, right? I mean, we are starting to push those margins really far
Mm.
now, and what is possible. I just think that there was a period of time where the CrossFit Games was a little bit unrelatable
Yeah.
and that's why the one that just happened is like, wow, this is like everyone can kind of do it,
Mm.
but what I'm trying to say is because it is that community, because it is that element of promotion of CrossFit, it can tend to drive certain things in a particular kind of way. Whereas like the affiliate level, that is the application. That is is what is actually happening. And it's just kind of like having that in conversation. So for example, we've always mentioned that, when people want to try and get fitter, oh, well, I got to step out the class now because classes aren't, they're not hard enough for me. So what do people generally do?
5K runs.
No, what I mean is that they go, oh, I'm going to go and jump on a competitive program. And
Oh,
like,
right. Yeah, yeah. I see what
yeah,
you mean. Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. More,
why?
more, more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rather than going, hey, what am I not good at?
yeah.
And that's the thing, right? So again, it's like you will get fitter, okay, by figuring out the one thing that you're not particularly good at in the
Mm.
whole ecosystem, of training, and then focusing on that while still maintaining your intensity across all of the different the other elements, which you would do in a general class, right?
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah, yeah.
like it's like having competitive program, and this is just based on my experience of having done that, and I
Mm.
do it to a small amount now, but you basically work outside in, right? We talk about it. It's a similar like putting a
Mm.
lesson plan together, right? Well, is this person strong enough? Have they got a cardiovascular engine which is big enough? All right, and then all of a sudden you just start working in. Whereas in CrossFit, within a group class environment, we work out.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then once people have hit those markers, they just do. People just do more CrossFit. It's
Yeah.
like Rick, all the top end people, they will just be doing CrossFit in its terms of that they'll do a heavy day, which will probably be their strength training. They will do mixed modal work, all right, which would be the metcons, and might have a variety of different time domains and all that kind of stuff that they're working to, and they'll be working their zone two, right? The cardio respiratory endurance piece, right? But fundamentally, they've got the time to do that.
Yes.
They got the time to do it all, and that's the big thing, right? It's like competitive training requires more time than an hour's class.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We used to have close to 30 every Saturday. We like it used to be what Savage Saturday, Super Saturday, whatever it would have been. Saturday's class was always ask anyone in the affiliates. Saturday was their favorite one. It was always the one where everyone showed up. It might have been an hour and a half special every Saturday. It was the sweaty one. You'd have everything going on. You'd have loads of people, and it was memorable. And guess why? Because we had a bit more time on a Saturday. People had a bit more time, and it proves exactly what you're saying. If you've got to get in and out in that hour close, get back to work, or it's a 6 a.m. session or whatever, we're just getting things done that we have to tick boxes in the week and get your GPP up to a good standard. The Saturday sessions were always those ones where everyone can just relax a little bit more into it and enjoy it.
Community builder, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why you can have a little bit more competitive focus, team focus, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
Because it's our game day,
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
as you know, and it's great to see from the comments as well, right? That happens everywhere, in terms
Mm.
of people see it as the same point. As you said, you do your work during the week and then you let off some steam you know,
Mm.
on the weekend. You know, similar at Dragon, like it's always been crazy on a Saturday,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. It means people want to come to you on the weekend. What more could you want as a business owner? People want to come to your place on the weekend. You know, their free time. Anyone will take on. Yeah, and Andy, I know that you're an S&C coach by trade originally, and you know still continue to do it, and me too. I train a lot of people outside of CrossFit at the Institute of Sport on the island where I live, and the difference it has made having their sports coaches handing them over for 2 hours a week to us to do strength training. There's an ultra runner, Sarah. She's moved away now because she got selected for Team GB at the age of 46. She's now in the Team GB ultra squad. She couldn't dumbbell press 3 kilo dumbbells on a bench, 3 kilo dumbbells, but she did 100 kilometers and she kept to a sub 25k pace for 20. She didn't stop. She does 7 hours 3 minutes 100 mile. It's just insane. The amount of power that she generates moving forward is nuts. But any other plane of movement, squatting to depth was out of the question. Her coach specifically told her, the British coach, dial in the running, go down from, I think she was on about 120 miles a week down to about 90, put in 3 extra hours of strength training for a year, and you watch your numbers. And within a year, she was selected for the GB squad because her numbers just went complete, like through the roof. And it was all down to thinking differently about strength training. So, and that's what we've got at our disposal. You know, all this information. We've got such incredible coaches in our space now. Like we've attracted, early days, it might have been specific, you know, real specific coaches that were in CrossFit, but now we've got this myriad, especially in the UK that I know quite well, and obviously you know extremely well, is that the level of coaching we've got. Like we've got all these incredible people working underneath this banner, producing these athletes that, tell you what, like I'm doing a little bit of an experiment at the moment, Andy. Like I said, I turned 40. I did a powerlifting competition 3 weeks ago. I've got a high rocks in about 5 weeks, and I've just qualified for the English Masters weightlifting in December. And I wanted to do all 3 of those just to test the 2 extremes of our sport without doing CrossFit, you know, at a CrossFit event. I've qualified for all of them. I've hit decent numbers, and I've just done CrossFit, albeit for quite a while. But the general standard across the board of being a generalist has paid dividends. I can run with my kids. I go on long walks with them. I ruck, I run, I lift, I throw. Everything is to a very high standard. And all I have done is CrossFit. I haven't been a competitive CrossFit athlete. I've just done CrossFit. And it's worked.
What does your training look like? So that would be an interest on my behalf, is in terms of like, cool, we've been doing CrossFit in the background, which has enabled you to go and take part in these events and do quite well in them. So like, what does the training look like?
So to each of these events, I've had a 6-week cycle building up where I've gradually tapered towards that particular event. So I started off doing SBD when I was 14. So powerlifting and weightlifting has always been sort of something I've done. So my general baseline's high. I played football, soccer from the age of 5, so I've got a good engine there. That's why CrossFit leapt out at me. It was like, oh, I can be 7 out of 10 at everything, and I can be good at this thing and be able to walk in and do the hopper model, everything, like to a fairly good degree. Gymnastics was the only one where I fell short a little bit initially, anyway. But yeah, a 6-week cycle of a little bit of specializing towards. I go to a 6-week day instead of a 5. I usually have 2 days where I'm out of the gym and I'm doing rucking or walk with the kids or stay out of the gym and mobilize. I go up to 6 days a week rather than the 5. For the powerlifting, I was hitting SBD twice a week rather than once a week, but I had 1 extra day of SBD where I did all 3. It's only a slight adjustment. It's basically 1 day a week where I'm looking different. But generally speaking, I stick to the GPP programming that we have at the gyms, and it works wonders. And I think it's just consistency.
Yep.
It's you know, and it's not ever specializing over 15 years of doing this. Not quite 15. But it's building up that base. And then at the age of 40, I can apply that wherever the hell I want. And it's nice. And I've got to that age, and you're probably about, you're 42, aren't you? I'm starting to see friends and family members that haven't done what I've done starting to fall away a little bit. Like the specialists, the people that were sporty but specialized, and also obviously the people that didn't do anything. They're starting to fall away. And I keep looking around and thinking, am I the only one left out of my group that's still relatively in shape and active and doing
this is the interesting thing, and the reason why I want to mention it. We okay for time? Are you okay for time?
Oh yeah, as long as you are, Andy. Yeah.
First of all, I've done something similar to what you've just done. I think you got the picture of me for the podcast off that post, right? Which is, hey, look, I decided that I need to have something to train for this year in 2025. So the Open was being one because it's in there. Murph, we did a High Rocks. And then it was, for me, it was more fitness competitions rather than, I guess, sort of like individual things. And all I did was the daily WOD, and that was it. And I think I did a little bit of like additional bodybuilding at the start of the Open, and then that was it. And I did it for the exact reason, the reason why you do it is that because I'm convinced that, I'm not going to do wonders in, sort of like the more isolated events, because I'm just doing the GPP. However, it was good enough, and I guess the similar to you with the SBD and the weightlifting, for me, a little bit of a test margin was like the online semi-finals, right? For the age group. So went through for the Open in the qualifying spot, basically. But then when we came to the semi-finals, that's where I definitely saw the limitations of my training. And that's because, let's say, the weights which needed to be lifted were a little bit heavier. Okay, I might stay away from them in a regular group class. My overhead strength was nowhere near where it needed to be. Whereas, like, we have limitations within our gym where we can dump and stuff like that. So we haven't necessarily gone overhead as much. So it was like, I can see what it is. But the big thing which you just nailed on the head, right, is that we are a core strength and conditioning program. All right. So if you do have something which you're going to start to specialize in, all right, 6 weeks out is almost like brilliant just to start putting the focus in, and that's what we did with our High Rocks plan at our gym. It's like we're all doing CrossFit, but guess what? We started doing 6 weeks out from High Rocks. Started doing a little bit more running. With that, and I think the message in regards to that just needs to be kept putting out there and repeated, because people, again, similar, it happens in CrossFit. Hey, I want to get better at CrossFit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a competitive program. And you're like, no, it's like just do CrossFit. If you want to do as best as you can for an upcoming competition that you want to do, maybe you do need to spend some additional time trying to figure out where the areas you need to spend time is, so that you can improve your fitness by working at your weaknesses. Right? That will take you away generally a little bit, but no more than 1 or 2 days a week.
No, and it's really interesting you say that. I've had this back and forward with my mother-in-law the last couple of years. So we tried getting into CrossFit my wife and I, from about 2014. She wouldn't have it. 2019 comes around. Sorry, 2020, lockdown. She gets a rower and a barbell in her gym at home, and she starts doing CrossFit, gets a bit of programming from us, falls in love with it, joins Winchester, where the nearest one where she used to live, Warminster, sorry, not Winchester. And now she's a 2 times gains athlete in the 65 division, won Wadapalooza this year. Now, my advice to her for the last year has been, just do the GPP class, but work on that intensity, because that's what you're lacking. It's the intensity. She can do toes to bar. She's got chest to bar. She's got pull-ups, toes to bar. She's obsessed with working on those gymnastics elements and the high skill level, doing 2.5 hours of training a day. I can see it from a mile away. Get her on an echo bike and she falls way behind the other people in the 65 division. You just need to work on that intensity. The thing is, when she joins in the classes, she's behind because she's lacking that intensity levels. If you're going to continue to qualify at the top level, that's going to be the marker, the difference between yourself and the others that are a bit younger than you. It's that intensity that you drop off. So even at the sport level, dropping back in the age groups, dropping back to GBP, but trying to keep up with the young guns, that's going to probably do you a world of good.
It's the same thing like I say to some, of the members that we have at Dragon, and I guess it's all conversation, right? So no one's out there saying this, right? But Matt Fraser spent a lot of his time training on his own, and he's probably the only CrossFit champion that did that.
Yeah.
But now people think that's where they're going to get intensity. I'm like, no, Matt Fraser's a freak of nature, right? And it's like when you go out and compete on that floor, are you ever on your own? You're against 20, 10 more people, whatever it may be. And the only way you can really experience that on a weekly basis, right, is by either jumping into a general pop class, or your gym might have a specific competitors class on, right? And the reason being is that you will reach intensity because there's either someone a little bit quicker than you, or there's someone who's coming up right behind you, and that's what tends to push the push your efforts in order for you to reach that intensity. It's worked wonders at Dragon for me personally, as I said, as a test subject on this, because a couple of us who have some ambitions just to take part in the competitions, etc., just jump into the regular classes, and we push each other, because I want to be the first to pull up bar, or like what was the one this week? I'm going against the guy who's like 6'3", right, fit, but I know I'm better at him and then pull-ups. So I was like, just as long as I can keep as close to him, like, this is a skier now, it's not a fighting machine, right? As long as I can keep as close to him on the cardio as possible, I know I can kind of pip in. And on his side, he's going, I need more time on the bar, and so that's the element of when we talk about intensity. Obviously, it's going to be relative on the individual, etc. But it just enables to have that environment where you can, push a little harder. Coming back onto something you said around about your friends who are the specialists, kind of like starting to taper off. I always look at it like this, right? Powerlifters are really strong, but long term, their joints and generally their cardiovascular health is pretty bad, right? And I think we don't necessarily. It's amazing what they do. It's amazing what they're trained for, but health is definitely not one of those things. I mean, even on joints, right? I mean, like they can say it goes to joints of full range of motion. Your joints cannot be supple and healthy when you're putting extreme amounts of weight through them on a regular basis. And then likewise on some of the cardiovascular people, right? They're just stiff as boards when they get older.
Yeah.
The very tight hip flexors and like zero hamstring kind of crew. Great times, unbelievable runners, but at a detriment to what? And I think that's the thing, right? Is that one of the key components to CrossFit training, right? And it's been, in the level 1, we talk about it in the What is Fitness lecture. It's like the health fitness continuum, because that's what we're trying to do, is that we're trying to build a hedge against sickness as best as we can. There is a limit in regards to how much health you can get through fitness, but then that comes into the element of the competition side, right? When you start putting chasing the golds, it's going to come at a detriment, to your health, let's say. And that's basically where those specific sport elements of chasing a particular time or chasing a particular kind of load can have, a negative effect. We want everything, but as it's not, we want it all. And I think that's like in terms of strength training, in regards to some of you probably have this with some of your athletes. I'm going to start a back squat cycle. I'm like, okay, cool. What for? I want to get stronger. I'm like, okay, stronger for what? Well, just stronger in general. And I'm like, you're not strong enough as it is. I'm like, you want a 200 kilo back squat? That's different than wanting to be strong. And so just clarification on that one, right? Because
Yeah.
like me and you both know that, let's say we come back to that 120 snatch. I like, I'll never get there because I personally am too old, right? But if I was to try and put like 5 to 10 kilos on my snatch now, my training would have to look so much more different that it's
Yeah.
going to be at the cost of all the other factors of what we're after in terms of those 10 general physical skills, right? And
Mm.
that's the big thing, right? Is that there are limitations to GPP, okay, but it's not at the cost of all the other limitations. We are just continuously trying to push our margins as far as we can,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's fun doing it, right? We
Oh.
are the 7 out of 10 means that we're good at taking part.
Mm. Yeah. We're like third. We're always third. We get on the podium, but we're third.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's funny. I want to move on to sort of a couple of HQ questions
yeah,
in a sec. But I know, because you've been very gracious in kind of sharing a couple of the posts that I've done recently on Instagram. I'm getting used to Instagram. I'm like a caveman in terms of like social media. I've stayed well away from it for far too long. But what I find interesting is diving into the L1, finding a topic that I don't that I get, but I want to apply it somewhere outside of the logic of it. And one of the questions that I keep coming back to at the moment is, where does the sport at the current level fit on the sickness, wellness, health, fitness continuum? And I've asked a few people on this, and you've kind of just answered it in your own way. Is that if optimal health is that optimal fitness down the other end of the spectrum, or that end, let's say, um, is optimal health and the sport of CrossFit, is that the same thing? Because I can't get my head around it being the same thing.
I guess you were talking about those individuals again, right?
Yeah.
Capacity. Rich Froning's got a bad knee. Matt Fraser, worked very well around the bad back, but I think towards the end of his career, he might have had a little bit of burnout. When they go to the CrossFit Games, they are fit and they are generally healthy. I think it's more about some of the risks that they may take in order to get there. Let's say, for example, maybe maxing out too much, maybe taking a chance there, and it not paying off and getting injured, it comes in and around that safety thing. Do I think they're the fittest versions of themselves at that time? Yeah, I do, but operating at that level for a period of time would probably have a negative effect. And I think that's like the difference, right? We're operating at a level in terms of like volume, in terms of the actual intensity which we're working at. Like if we prescribe someone to train 3 days a week, where it's in and it's out, whereas they're operating at relative to the same intensity as, let's say, a general CrossFit goer, 3 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off, but they're doing it with elevated levels of volume, which in a longer term perspective might have a negative effect. They can't do it forever, right?
No.
And
that's where the health umbrella comes in, when you add in the axis of age, doesn't it, over time?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at the moment with all of this. I'm progressively getting through it. I'm trying to get to the answer that everyone seems to know in their head, but I can't get there yet. So I'm trying to figure that out. I'm having a bit of fun with it.
Well, think of it.
Yeah.
Your health, there's only a limit to your health as well, right? There's only
Yeah.
so much you can improve your VO2 max by. There will be only such a limit that you can improve your strength capabilities to, and so on and so forth. And so it's just having an understanding of, let's say, doing enough in order to keep it there. And I think that's the big one, right? When we link it up with the biological markers, and I think that's where some that health sickness fitness continuum might come into, and again, it's conversation, is that there are limits. Yeah. So if we're saying that, blood pressure, heart rate, triglyceride levels, and so on and so forth, we want to see them moving towards what we deem as fit and healthy and going slightly beyond there, because it gives us a hedge against sickness. That's the important thing, right? I don't think it'll keep going forever, but it allows us to keep them as far away from sickness as possible, right?
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's helped me get somewhere nearer to my answer. So HQ, I'm a big advocate. I think, and I'm when I'm having these conversations, I try really hard not to come across as being too bullish or too disrespectful to different groups, because I know that we're all on the same path here. Now, if you'd have asked me when I was an affiliate owner up until 2021, did I feel like I got enough from HQ? I've probably been guilty of gone, no, I do all the hard work. But someone explained to me recently was, I knew that HQ was on a path and a trajectory, on a crusade for health, going after people, trying to set the world in order. And I knew what they were doing. I knew when Greg was in charge, what he was after and what that was, right? Someone highlighted that to me and I thought, do you know what? Yes, I felt a belonging to something bigger than myself, right? Now, a lot of the feedback at the moment, and I spoke to Gareth about this a little while ago. He's on the show, I know, a couple of months ago. What a great guy he is. A lot of the feedback from affiliate owners, and I talked to Facundo about this about a month ago on a show, was I'm not sure exactly what it is that affiliate owners want, or I didn't understand this, that they don't already have or they don't get from HQ already. I wasn't sure what that was. And I had Ed Morrison on as well about 6 weeks ago now. Obviously, you know Ed really well. He tried articulating it as well. And Facundo and Ed aren't US based. So they're outside of the US. So, of course, they're going to be able to identify with the feedback, I think, a little bit better than possibly people from the US that have got a little bit of a closer connection towards the older system and how it was all arranged. The word communication keeps coming up, and I don't know what it is exactly that the affiliate owners want, but I was told, and this is what it was: it's a connection to something bigger that are doing something on our behalf as affiliate owners, that we know that they're up to something good. We know that they're on a crusade for our behalf because we work our asses off for our members and we're the one that they look up to. Who do we look up to? Who's above us that we report into that is on this crusade and this job? And I think that's what people potentially are saying or feeling like they're missing out on at the moment. But I still struggle to see what they're missing out on. Obviously, you're on the receiving end of this probably more than anyone. Is there, do you understand what it is that affiliates feel like they're missing out on at all from some of the feedback that you've had?
So just to answer a question with a question,
Right.
I always ask the affiliate owners, why did you affiliate in the first place? And no one ever mentions about money. No one ever mentions, about getting a car or running a business. They mention about being able, I'm so passionate about how CrossFit changed my life that I wanted to be able to help other people with it. And so the second question I have on that was I'm like, has that changed? And they're like, no. Okay. And then it always comes down to the question of value. And I'm like, well, what value do you want? And then they basically say what you've articulated. They want to know that, CrossFit is fighting this crusade. And we can see that, the message, is there through the newer marketing campaign. Granted, it's taken a while to come through, and, just to kind of speak, we went from having a very, very strong leader, right, with a very particular direction in which he wanted to go within. And, there are, newer owners of CrossFit, okay, and they were figuring out what it is that they want to do and take it there. But the message has always still been the same, and the methodology has not changed, as we've discussed, in terms of like kind of being a North Star. And it's up to the affiliate owner what they want to do. But I like to articulate it in regards to how's it different, and because the thing is yeah, as an affiliate owner, I'm like, have certain things happened which I'm like, that's gonna hurt us, or oh God, what happened? It's very much like what we just we just want to have what I say, transparency, or just as an element of direction. And that's what the marketing campaign, which was launched just after the games, did. It put the line in the sand that all affiliate owners understood. Hey,
Yes.
we are the original fitness. It's not for everyone, because it's for those who like hard work. And
yes,
that we just what I feel is that I just want to see more of that, because that's that's what's going to help put, as an affiliate owner, people through the door. Okay, is seeing that messaging. It's up to me whether they stay or not. And I think that's sometimes one of the big things from an affiliate owner's perspective, is that we mention about being self-reflective. And I'll have conversations with those individuals. It's the affiliate owners are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs answer to no one unless you're paying a mentor or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of the conversations Gareth and I will have in and around, the first thing, right? We have to build up trust.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the big things in which we're at this moment in time, is that we're in a state of increasing the trust. We've drawn our line in our sand. We've listened to the community. I say we, I guess, people higher up than me within CrossFit. I've listened to the community in regards to getting out the dates for next season. It's the earliest it's been. And these have been requests of the community, because it helps them get their ducks in a row. And so I think it's a very, it's a big question in regards to, like, you can see we're now listening to the community. We're trying to do everything that we can, and it is realistic. And that's the big thing, right? As an affiliate owner, I think marketing's a big thing. CrossFit is, it is a fantastic brand, and we want to see that brand be leveraged as best as it can be, because that's going to enhance my business, right? I still need people that come in through the door. I still have the passion to change people's lives, through CrossFit. But at the same time, I need a little support to get them in there as well, right? And that's something that CrossFit can do, right?
Yes, 100%.
And so it takes time to get there. One of the biggest frustrations that Gareth and myself have is trying to speak to the affiliate owners as best as we can. And then two, let's not forget that, there was a number of years where there is no contact at all. So it's just trying to build trust between, ourselves and the affiliate owners. Likewise, we haven't even spoken about this, but it's like coach development, right? You can only tell people, okay, or give them advice or give them a little bit of feedback if they allow themselves to be vulnerable. And the only way you can allow someone to be vulnerable is to build that trust. And so, you're not trying to like tear strips out of them, so this is what I mean about earlier, is that all these things come through communication and talking, you know what I mean? And that's what makes CrossFit as an organization so unique compared to another corporate, right? Is that it grew organically. And like, if you go back and look at some of the old journal articles, which I had a deep dive on last weekend, you know, Greg's in there saying, look, you know, we basically, certain things have driven the growth of CrossFit, and that which have come from the community. I think the article's from 2005, I believe. But we are the stewards of CrossFit. And I think that's important, is that, you know, as an affiliate, we need to want to feel heard, and then at least acknowledged in terms of certain things, whether it can or whether it can't be done, you know. And that's what me and Gareth really offer the affiliates in our region, is someone that they can talk to, you know, because we're not only representing CrossFit, we also represent the owners, right, in terms of like that messaging backwards and forwards and what have you. So
yes,
yeah, you know, that's an additional added value, I guess.
And I don't know if many people, like affiliate owners, know about this page, or, you know, you've got this web page is literally filled, and this is amazing. I love Antarctica on there. Absolutely love Antarctica on there.
What's this say? I can't see it.
Oh, can you see it? Oh, hang on. Oh, it's
country manager for Antarctica. Oh yeah, Antarctica.
Antarctica. Yeah. Incredible. What a stat that is, eh?
I've yet to have be able to expense a trip down there yet.
But you can schedule a call. You know, you go on there, you find your field leader and your country manager, you book in a call. It's real straightforward. You can just Google that. If you didn't know where it was, you can easily go there. The communication's there. So my thought on this is the open. You're probably one of the only people that I've spoken to that I've had a look on your CrossFit profile on the games website, and you've got a lot more opens than I have. So I've done everyone since 2013. So I've done, this will be my 14th, I think it is. I love that streak. I love signing up every year. For me, that's what makes me a CrossFit, other than the affiliation, is that sort of affiliates me personally. That's what I can do to affiliate myself to CrossFit each year, is $20 a year. And I know that is that then I can claim that I've done CrossFit and I do it and I test myself. I'm accountable. But as an affiliate owner, when I had my affiliate, that was pivotal. That was the linchpin. That was the one point you could put in the year that solidified my membership base, my strength training, my cycling throughout the year. Everything was geared up around the open. And what I feel like is that I'm not sure that the gyms in the UK, like Jamie up in Northumberland, like the gyms that really hammer home the open and have the big open signups, what do you know? They're the ones that are really booming and doing really well. They've got a thriving community and they are really doing well as gyms. They're the ones with cafes. They're the ones with all the merchandise stocked up. They're the ones with all the systems in place. They're the ones that the owners always got a smile on their face. It just so happens. And I can't help but think this common thread is the open. And if you're an affiliate owner and you're not using that, that's bonkers. And I really do hope that the 26 Open can be this springboard for whoever the new owners coming in are, if we do have any coming in. Like, you've got the Mayhem talk at the moment, you've got all the people, but I feel like 25 took a bit of a hit in the Open. I think there was a bit of and I haven't looked at the stats, to be honest, but
there's 200 and odd thousand.
Right, which isn't bad, you know, like over 200,000 people.
Yeah, same as 2014, I think. The peak was 2018 with 420,000 signups.
Right.
Okay. I mean, like all the data's out there. But you've hit the nail on the head, right? Is the way in which you, as an affiliate owner, saw the open. And that is the hard bit, you know. It's like I've had conversations, and then this was in the Facebook days, right? Oh, open doesn't seem to be as, you know, as buoyant as it was before. And I'm like, I've had the best one that we've ever had in the gym. I think it's just down to the leadership wanting to make it a thing, right? So how can you what's important is that your members need to understand, okay, that you're going to be doing it. Right, that's for one. Then you have to, why do you want to do it, right? Or what is the, why are we doing it, right? Why we've established there's an element of identity there, right? It's CrossFit. It's a little test of fitness. Fundamentally, it's our way of participating back in that 2007 CrossFit Games. The initial reason why they wanted to do it is a community builder. Events are community builders, okay? Some people go off on a tangent. I'm not going to, sport money, to support that, CrossFit, all this kind of stuff. Okay. So the CrossFit Games is traditionally a cost to CrossFit. All right. Should be seen as a marketing, advertising cost, promotion cost, right? So what the entry, does do, it enables an element towards that. Okay. Again, there's pros and cons. Could CrossFit give a kickback? I don't know, right? That goes above my head, but it's always been $20 since the year they came out. Right? Yep. Again, did that research in 2011. It wasn't $10, it wasn't $15, it was $20, and it's exactly the same as it is today, right? So they've not changed the price there. But what it enables you to do is have the tools at your disposal to create an event in your gym. And that's the important thing, right? Your creation, or again, it gives you the leaderboard, all that kind of stuff, but it just means that you can manage it, all right? And it gives you 3 dates in the calendar, which are now predetermined, all right, from the end of February to the middle of the March, okay, which you can then talk about if you wanted to with event planning, because again, reverse chain engineering here, right? Like, you come out of Christmas, people are like, oh God, what am I going to do and what I'm training for, etc. Well, you're in a CrossFit gym. Guess what we're going to train for? All right. And we did that at Dragon. This year, 2025, is the best year we've ever had in the open, ever.
Brilliant.
Okay? And it's because I don't want to say leverage, but like, I want to have fun every Friday. I'm going to be in there late. I'm going to make sure that, we're going to have good training, run on time, all that kind of stuff. I'm happy to do the stress because it's fun. And I want to spend time with these people. So like, beginning of January, hey, this is the block of programming that we're looking to do now in the build up to the open. So we are going to start doing these particular exercises at more frequency, all right, because they appear in the open. Double unders appear in every single open, right? Burpees appear in every single open, right? So, and then chest to bar pull-ups is the other one, all right? So they've like, I'm not 100% toes to bar being in, but those 3 exercises, right? So they're in there in more fashion. Fridays, hey, we're going to do traditional, open workout scenarios on a Friday, right? So again, we're just, yes, it falls a little bit away from the constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity because we're kind of eliminating an element of that variance, okay? But I can vary it over an 8-week plan. But the thing is that I'm articulating it. I'm
exactly.
telling the crowd what we're doing, and they're either in it or if they're not in it, okay? But at least they know what we're doing. And I think that's the big thing with the open. And if an affiliate owner listening to this now wants to leverage it as best as they can, you put an event on in your gym. You have an 8-week block towards that. It's stickier. Your members will stick around for longer because you've given them the element of consistency. They've seen the results of their consistency, okay, which is generally an improvement. And because you've given them the improvement, they're going to be around in your gym for a longer period of time. That's the commercial element to it, right?
Yeah.
And, for the sake of asking someone for $20, it's like, cool, let's take that. But I don't know if people like this only comes in conversation, right? If someone says, oh, well, I don't want to pay for it. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right. Chill.
Yeah. But it's, and the argument I've always had is once you've financially invested in the open, you're emotionally invested in it. There's definitely a connection there. And what I've had obviously a few people over the years that it's their first year and They might be training for 3 or 4 months, let's say. And I tell them all about the Open. I'm excited about it. I say it's a CrossFit led thing. We all do the same workouts. And it's like, oh my God, this is so scary. And I'm like, a reminder, I will be coaching you. You'll be in a lane in here, but it'll be in our gym. No one else is watching. It's just a workout, but it isn't just a workout. Afterwards, you are going to feel like you've had the best workout you've had in your life, and you will remember it. Like I reckon I could probably, if you list a workout from the Open since 2013, I can tell you which gym I was at, when I did it, and how it felt. The Open workouts are magical, and it's a magic formula because of the way that you present it. And that's down to the affiliate owner. And I think the affiliate owners have got somewhat of a responsibility to use it to their advantage. And if they don't, that's fine. But you've got to know this is a massive, massive opportunity for you every year that you get given to be able to partake in as that. And my, sorry.
Just to come in there, like you bang on about it, right? But certain things that show that CrossFit has listened, right, would be the last Opens that have come through, right? They're both probably the best programmed over the time, right? And some people might say, oh well, it's better to have a 5 than it is a 3. From an affiliate owner perspective, I'm like, I like 3. All right, 5's too long. All right, maybe on the competitor side, they're like, oh, we've got to have 5. So you can see how it's been kind of like listened to. It's like 3, I can keep people's engagement for 3 weeks, 5 weeks. Well, I remember it being like, oh God, here we go again, right? And I think that's important as well, right? Is that element of trust, because and I'll just be transparent. If I get into trouble, I get into trouble, right? There was one year where they put muscle ups in the first workout. I was like, as an affiliate owner, I was like, fuck you. Fuck you.
I spoke about that last week. Yeah.
I'm like, I just want people to do like they did the burpees and the snatches, all right, and then the burpees and the dumbbell clean and press. I'm like, great, at least now everyone's done the workout and they get into it and they can have fun with it, right? And then you can add the complexity towards the end. So it's stuff like that, right? That's how we build trust again.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Listening to the demographic that will actually partake in the Open. It makes the affiliate owners a lot easier to sell when they can look back and say, well, last year, here were the workouts. The workout that we had with double unders, rowing and deadlifts a couple of years back. Real simple. The one we had the burpee over the dumbbell.
A little bit too long. It was just a little bit too long, 20 minutes. Just from 18 minutes would have been like bang on.
Yeah. I was going to say 16, but that's fine. So yeah, like you said, I think the feedback loop has been mended. I think it's been fixed, and we're back on. It's like putting your chain back on the bike. The chain's back on now, so we just need to pedal for a little bit, and hopefully we can get that speed up. The last thing I'm going to ask, Andy, because I've gone way over your time that you've given me, so thank you so much for that. One massive opportunity for affiliate owners, especially in the UK and in Europe, is things like Coaches Congress that I'm really, really looking forward to going to, not just because of the rugby match, but going to Twickenham, being surrounded by these people that are investing their time and their money into developing their own coaching standards, their systems, being surrounded by other people, by industry leaders, and to be able to share that platform for like 2 whole days. What an incredible opportunity that is for affiliate owners and for coaches, obviously, Coaches Congress. First of all, are you attending next weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
So Gareth and myself are, and I think for affiliate owners, we on the Saturday evening or just before food, we've got basically an affiliate kind of like workout for affiliate owners and their plus ones on the Rogue stage. So
amazing, excellent. And my last question for that is, sorry, I haven't frozen. I'm just trying to think of this question in articulate it well.
Yeah.
I know 1,000 reasons why I would send a coach if I'm an affiliate owner. And I did this. There was back in the day, we had the affiliate solution. We had a guy called Ty, came over from Australia, and he did this thing. I used to send all the coaches there each year. What's the biggest takeaway that an affiliate can get from things like Coaches Congress? What benefit do you get as being the affiliate? Like, what one big takeaway do you think you could sell?
You will always come away with a skill or an idea that's going to improve either your coaching or your business. I think one of the major things from things like Coaches Congress is the ability to bring those people together and the interactions that you have with like-minded people to build that trust, to develop the communication strategies in order for us to all benefit. I think that's the biggest thing, right? You know, in terms of whether it be feedback, whether it be talking, you know, giving feedback to a coach, feedback to CrossFit, vice versa. It's like we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. We're just playing slightly different musical instruments, right? In terms of like, we just want CrossFit to do as best as it can, all right, with our own little specialities, but we all need to be playing the same tune. And I think what events allow us to do, like Coaches Congress, like, you know, affiliate summits, like provisionally putting like an L3 meetup together, right, is that it just allows us to understand what best practice is for a particular kind of person and whether or not we want to like listen to that, you know. And that's the important bit. We're learning from people's experience. They're not telling us how to do things at these things. They're just talking about their stories and what they've done, and then that allows us to see what is possible. Like you know, for me personally, is, you know, listening to Dan Chaffee, right? And, you know, I've had the opportunity to listen a number of times, right? And his name keeps bombarding around. Like, I'm never going to be able to achieve what he's done, right? Maybe I'm putting some self-limiting beliefs on me, but I'm not, because I'm not Dan. However, by it being able to see what he's achieved with his 3 gyms, I'm like, well, my self-limiting belief is that, well, why can't I get 1,000 members? You know, it's like, I've got to do the same things as he's done in order to get there, to maximize, okay, what I can offer. You know, and it's really like, you know, all the people, whether it be one of the mentorship programs, one of the coach development, you know, pieces, they're just talking from their experience, and then you can learn from that as you want. But being able to do that at an event where everyone is like-minded and trying to play the same song is the biggest thing, which I can basically, it's motivation, right? You come away and you're like, cool, let's go for it. I know why I'm doing it.
Yeah. And you said earlier about being the ability to be vulnerable and get feedback. One, you're going to get that, and you're going to be vulnerable at those coaches congresses and those meetups, because you're going to hear stuff that you don't necessarily align with or agree with straight away. And it makes you think, oh, have I been doing that wrong? Like, do I know the name of the person that cleans the toilets in the gym? Probably, yeah, I don't know. There's these real simple stuff. One, there's the vulnerable side. Two, it's being around other people and communicating. That communication piece that we talked about, that the affiliate owners say they're missing out on. All the big people, all the big names, all the people that you want to hear and listen to will all be there. But three, it's those people, as I say above, those people above us in the industry that we want to know are on that crusade that we talked about. They're all there. And you're made aware of it. You're not floating around in your little bubble in your affiliate, which is very easily done, by the way, thinking I'm all alone in this fucking world.
Yeah.
You go to these events and you're with your people. You're with your tribe, just like athletes are when they go to these events. And you said about Chaffee, Daniel, he is the elite. He is the Rich Froning, Jason Hopper. He's the elite sports person that all the members look to, but he's the affiliate owner that we all look to. He's that tugboat at the front, pulling us along and helping us think, do you know what? I can achieve greater things than this. And what an electric, magnetic personality he's got, along with many other people like yourself that we've got in this thing that we love and we identify with. That's why this name is so damn important. It's not just constantly very functional fitness performed at high intensity. It's all of the stuff that we have, and what a blessing and how lucky we are to have that. And we need to think about that long and hard when we think about de-affiliating, because that's everything that's summed up in this one word.
Yeah, I mean, it's and that's the big thing about CrossFit, right? There is a definition, but it means something slightly different to someone depending on what shoes they're wearing, right? You know, and that whether that's as a gym member, whether that's as an affiliate owner, whether that's as a trainer, and it's something that, you know, can vary. But fundamentally, our belief is that by doing CrossFit, it's positively impacting us. You know, that's a belief which can't be proved. But everyone who's within the space, once they've experienced it for a period of time, feels that. You know, and just because you mentioned the affiliate owners, it's interesting. One of the questions which I took away from another country manager, and I ask people now, I basically go, oh, do you still do CrossFit? And that's the important thing. So sometimes you'll have an affiliate owner that's gone off down a different tangent in terms of their training and what have you. And so that tends to, you know, possibly be a factor in that, because it's like, you know, if as you mentioned them, you know, CrossFit Northumbria with Jamie, right? Jamie does his classes. You know, Leamington Spa with Sotiris, right? He does his classes. You know, the guys up in Glasgow do their classes. You know, Ollie does his classes. You know, from social media, Dan Chaffee does his classes. It's you can see that leadership on the local level at the affiliate drips down as well. And people will always look at, hey, what the person at the top is doing. You know, we talk about that on the level 2 from a coaching perspective in terms of demonstration of the methodology, right? Do I go and do some bicep curls and triceps on the Fridays with the boys? Well, yeah, because, you know, it's an area of my fitness. I need to it's a weak point area, you know, because I got my cause, and, you know, it's things like that, right? You know, but you know, the core crux of it is very much like, look, we do fitness because we love it. CrossFit has shown that it is the ultimate in regards to producing those results in which we want from GPP. Is it perfect? No. Okay, but it's as close as you'll get to a great training modality as you can, right? Matt Evans, who's a flow master, he articulates Vince Lombardi's saying, right? If you chase perfection, you'll never catch. If you chase perfection, you catch excellence, basically, right? Because perfection is unattainable, and basically that's, you know, kind of CrossFit in a nutshell, right? It's like we're trying to catch the ultimate, but we're just really good at you know, we're really good at everything, but not amazing at the one thing, right? You know, so again, it's philosophical, it's commercial. There's lots about it, but like, you know, just in a kind of part in, you know, from this, I think there needs to be more of these in terms of podcasts. I think there needs to be through with more people, because, as again, you mentioned the behind the scenes. You go into an event like Coaches Congress is an element like behind the scenes, you know, like Rich Fronins go there. You get the opportunity to maybe ask them the question of like, hey, how did you feel in, you know, the final of, you know, 2012 when you won gold, you know, because it gives you that behind the scenes access, and is that relatability, so you can see how everything's intertwined, you know.
You start to figure out that net, that woven thing that we've got, this tapestry of CrossFit. It's not linear. It's a little bit. Exactly. Yeah. Well, Andy, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciated it. You're a fascinating guy with a lot of experience, and we're so lucky to have, you know, yourself and obviously Gareth and Ollie in the UK and Ireland. But thank you so much for everything you do. It's really appreciated. And thank you for your time today. Hopefully everyone can take away a little bit about it. But I personally have taken a lot away from today. So thank you so much. So
likewise.
just gonna wave goodbye to everyone. Cheers, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on Sunday morning. And